Welcome to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And this is the show that talks about boundaries, work-life balance, and living a life where you have control. This is for highly driven professionals who want to develop a more balanced professional and personal life and live out their true values. Those who are ready to grab the reins and change the status quo. The professional who's ready to have a life again and who's ready to take a stand, living in a way that you feel respected, valued, and fulfilled each and every day. We talk about topics like setting boundaries, taking risks, life management, and all the tips, techniques, and strategies to help you master your Monday, one day at a time. Hey, Michelle O'Neill here. As you know, I love a great conversation. So come on, pull up a chair, ringside that is, and let's talk the real deal today on episode 10, Remaining Positive After Facing Challenging Times in Our Life. You know, who wants to be around a Debbie Downer or a nagging Nelly? I don't. Just because life hands us lemons, well, let me tell you, it doesn't mean we have to be a sourpuss. I don't know about you, but I would like to be someone people enjoy being around for starters. But that's not the only and main reason it's actually beneficial to remain positive. You know, when things happen, trying times, challenging circumstances, well, kind of like a health pandemic, we find ourselves stuck in the horrors, disappointment, and frustrations of what we're moving out of instead of how to move forward towards, well, where we're going. It's actually a natural reaction to brood over what we lost. And we have lost a lot. There's a lot to process over this last year. And seeing it all unfold before our very eyes, well, it's actually painful. If you're like me and your insides cringe when you see injustice, others hurting or suffering, and your world has been turned absolutely upside down too, it is hard some days to find the positive, but it's there. It really is. Believe me. And I'm not saying we have to skip along hand in hand down that yellow brick road of the unknown. But what I am suggesting is that we dig deep. I mean, real deep. And we can find a way to build, grow, and glow. And yeah, I said it, glow. Being positive doesn't mean you bury your head in the sand to the realities of life. It just means we get to approach challenges in a more positive way. We just want to find a way to lessen the feelings of anxiety and stifle those fears of uncertainty. We're being barraged every day in our news feeds, TV, and Zooms, hitting us with an intensity that we haven't experienced before. And we live in a truncated reality. Things have a way of getting distorted and, well, twisted. But how many of these things are just true or perceived? We have to recalibrate our true thermometer and get it back on track. You know, what's hype and what's real? What in this can we do anything about? And that's the question that we need to ask. I'm always talking about energy and expending my precious energy for things that I can do nothing about. And that when we worry, have you noticed that the things that you can do something or that are within your control, that we actually start formulating a plan to make the necessary changes? But the things that we worry about, well, those are actually, get this, out of our control anyway. You know, our greatest desire is to have that feeling of comfort that feels good, that good feeling of being safe, not just for ourselves, but those around us too, because it's not just about us. It really isn't. One of the most positive things that and productive things that we can learn is how to better process the calamities in our lives and actually find a way to deal with the situation. And that starts with learning to reduce that negative self talk. How do you know you're thinking negative? What do you do? And how do you know that? Because we get so used and wrapped up in it, we see that as natural. Well, let me tell you, according to Mayo Clinic, there are actually 4 signs to looking to determine if you're really thinking negative. And I'd like to share a little bit of all 4 of them with you. The number one is filtering. That's only seeing the bad and filtering out the good. It's that first character that comes to mind when I think of filtering is Schlet Rock. If you ever watched the Flintstones, he was that character on the Flintstones that would walk around all dirty looking with that cloud on top of his head and the rain just falling down on him. No matter where he went, there was no sunshine because he carried his gloom with him. Well, that's what filtering is only seeing the bad and actually filtering out the good. You can't see beyond that bad. And then the second one is personalizing. That's self blame. Let me tell you something. It ain't all about you. The song that comes to mind here is You're So Vain. I bet you think this song is about you. Why? Because we're putting ourselves as the nebulous of everything that happens. Sometimes, stuff just happens and it ain't about us. We must begin to honestly separate ourselves from everything that happens and only carry the blame for the things we have responsibility of, and everything is not our responsibility. The third thing that Mayo Clinic says is catastrophizing. What is that? That's automatically thinking the worst and magnifying it. It's not just thinking the worst, but it's taking that worst and blowing it up, magnifying it more than it is. Wow. Mm. Now, that one is really self explanatory. And I find myself falling into that from time to time. Do you? In fact, I find myself hitting it a bit of all of them. And I haven't even gotten to the fourth one yet. But sometimes I do filter, sometimes I personalize, and sometimes I look at the catastrophe and I blow it up. But the thing is, we don't want to stay in those places. So let me hit the last one is polarizing. Is see only good and bad. This is a bad one for me. There are no gray areas. It's either good or bad, bad or evil, whatever it is. You know, it's perfect or a total failure. You either did it perfect and excellence and perfection, or if you didn't, it's a total failure. It's no good and you're no good. It's what I call that imperfect genius. This is a place of constant struggle, especially if you're a perfectionist. And I'd like to say, no, I'm not a perfectionist, but I like to say I strive for excellence. I had to give up that perfectionist thing because I could never reach it. But there are things that we can do to correct all of these, or at least build some positive muscles to hold us up when we begin to back down or, you know, begin to deal with this negative self talk. So, what are those things? We need to start cultivating a strength perspective. And what is that? Let's start by focusing our perspective on our strengths. I always say, write it down. I think that is a wonderful practice. Sit in your favorite chair or, your favorite think spot, your favorite room, or even if it's on the floor, wherever it is, but that place where you go when you want to think about everything and just ruminate on things in your mind. Well, get a piece of paper. Of course, we can't write without our piece of paper, and start writing down your strengths. Things like, well, what are you good at? What do people come to you for? Family, friends, and always ask your opinion about. What can you be counted on to show up for? What do people say that you're always, how do you say, dependable about, or they know that they can count on you for this? And what do you do so naturally without even thinking about it? It's just like drinking water. Those things have not left you. It's like riding a bike. That's what I'm talking about. Those things that have not left you. Those things that, yeah, are natural, that you can be counted on, and that people come to you for. Even if you haven't done them for a while, it's easy to pick them back up and start them again. They're still there and they still work. So that's one thing. Think of your strengths, write them down to remind yourself from time to time. Grab out your piece of paper, write them in a book if you have a journal or something, but write them down so you can revisit them. And then we need to add positivity. Well, what does that mean? Bring the sunshine with you wherever you are. Just like Schleprock took the rain and the gloom cloud with him, why don't we just bring the sunshine along with us? Simple things like a smile when you walk past someone and you look at someone, a song that just breaks out. People who are around me, they know that in the midst of a conversation, there's a song in my head that comes to mind. And I try to curtail it here, but there's always a song, just like You're So Vain or whatever, that seems to pop into my head when I talk. Laughter. I love laughing. I love finding the humor in everything. It just brightens my day. Encouragement. Encouragement. As you talk to people, as you see people, share a simple encouragement, something that you like about them, something that you like about what they do, or just who they are. And always support. Support those around you, lift them up and help them. And then we can't always look to others and our circumstances or our surroundings for positivity. So let me tell you, we have to bring our own. And you know what? When we have it, it's great to share with others. The third thing is breathe. Take a deep breath, just like it sounds. Stop and just take a deep breath. There is so much in that one word. It's a pregnant pause, our ability, like I said, to step back. And you know what? It's our refreshment. Just let the oxygen do its thing. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, hey, look it up. Oxygen provides so much. So breathe, but don't hyperventilate. And next, learn to buffer criticism. Take criticism for what it is, someone else's opinion. Evaluate it against the truth, not your feelings, but really honestly look at it and see if there's any truth in it. And is there something that you can walk away with in that truth? Don't let our feelings get in the way. You are not required to stay there and listen. But sometimes when we do, we can learn something. So if we take the time to listen, doesn't mean that we have to own it. But sometimes it is good, and those are buffers. Determine, as I said earlier, what is out of your control. This is my favorite. We can only do something about the things that are within our control. And let me tell you, let me let you in on a secret. The things that are in our control, well, it ain't other people. We can't control other people, but we can control how we react and how we let it affect us. And that brings us to our next point: open mind perspective. We need to have an open mind, and what that means is being open to other ways of seeing things or thinking on things. You know, my pastor is always saying, just because it's always been doesn't mean it always has to be. And great ideas come from thinking differently. So just because it's something that we've always done, some history or tradition that's been passed down from ages, it doesn't mean we have to accept it as gospel, but that we, how do you say, that we look at it against the truth and we evaluate it and then determine where we go from there. Next, pull on your front row. Well, who's your front row? You know, I say those are the people that are sitting there in the performance of your life, watching you and giving you great critique, cheering you on and supporting you. That's your front row. And usually it's, I say, a good 5 people that you know that you can count on. You know, that girlfriend who's there to always tell you the truth and don't let your relationship keep her from telling that truth. You know, it always reminds you again that, baby, you are not alone. No matter how it feels, no matter what it looks like, you are not alone. So you need this front row. And I'm here to ask you right now, do you have a front row? And if you think you do you know who your front row is? Well, that's one of the things that I help my clients with. You know, I help them cultivate their front row so that at times like this, you can call on them. These are your cheerleaders, your truth tellers, your support, and your, get this, your comfort. Call on them, like I said, to lift you up, but make sure you're there to, to reciprocate when they need you as well. And the final thing is a healthy lifestyle. The be all, end all. I don't need to tell you, but a healthy lifestyle touches every every aspect of living. Our mind, our body, our soul. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you because it's something you have to see for yourself. But let me tell you, I would encourage you to try on new healthy things. And right now try one new healthy thing that you have been waiting to incorporate in your life. And let's say, for the next 90 days, be committed to doing that one thing. Let me ask you, are you game? And then here's the kicker: I have an assignment for you. I want you to come back and share with me any changes that happen in your life and the changes that you feel. Okay? Promise? I am so glad that you were able to hang out with me today on our ringside chat because you are amazing. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Look, I know that this is a lot to take in. I talked about a lot today, but you know, I just want to get those thought juices going. So before I go, remember that assignment I gave you? Well, I want to tack on one more. Not only come back and tell me how it worked with that healthy lifestyle thing, but give me one negative phrase, because this one I'm going to really engage with you on. Give me one negative phrase that you often tell yourself, and I'll play with it and turn it around with a positive spin. And I want to know, can you stump me? I think this will be fun. So see if you can stump me. I'll add a link on masteringyourmonday.com/pathway. You know that link I always leave. And call it, I think I'll call it Stump the Positive Talk. And I'll leave that for you to click so you can leave your statement. I can't wait to see what you or what your thought is coming my way. The link is also where you can find my goodies and gifts for you if you haven't done so already. And make sure you hit subscribe so you won't have to miss a single episode. Until next time, take care. I want to thank you for listening to the Mastering Your Monday podcast. I hope you learned at least one tip or technique you can walk away with and implement today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show, and let us know how much you enjoyed it and what you learned from this episode. We honor your time and your commitment to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And as always, we want to remind you, you are cherished, respected, valued, and in control. See you on the next episode.